there are good parts of the relationship. It's not all bad. Like what you and I both experienced, it was good at the beginning and then it just got progressively worse. There was no getting better. So in a situation like that, it's easier to break that depending on your situation than a trauma bonded relationship, because trauma bonding has intermittence of love, affection, chemistry, followed by the cycle of abuse, which throws the victim off. And then the abuse happens, and then pieces of love and affection actually happen again. And this cycle repeats itself over and over and over. So the victim is left feeling very off balanced, not knowing if the good person is really the good person and the bad person is, somebody that can be helped. So they're always trying to figure out how to get that good person back,
Right.
because it is filtered with good, bad, horrible, back to good.
Welcome to the Victim to Warrior Show.
Warrior Talk. We're John and Melissa, and we are survivors of narcissistic abuse, and our mission is to help other survivors reclaim and rebuild their lives.
Right. Now, today we're going to talk about an incredibly serious type of abuse called trauma bonding. And what does it look like? What does it mean? What does it look like? And if we're in a trauma bonded relationship, how do we get out? So, Melissa, our expert, what is trauma bonding and how is it different from other types of abuse?
Well, trauma bonding is there are good parts of the relationship. It's not all bad. Like what you and I both experienced. It was good at the beginning and then it just got progressively worse. There was no getting better. So in a situation like that, it's easier to break that depending on your situation than a trauma bonded relationship, because trauma bonding has intermittence of love, affection, um, it could be chemistry followed by the cycle of abuse, which throws the victim off. And then the abuse happens, and then pieces of love and affection actually happen again. And this cycle repeats itself over and over and over. So the victim is left feeling very off balanced, not knowing if the good person is really the good person and the bad person is, somebody that can be helped. So they're always trying to figure out how to get that good person back, because it is filtered with good, bad, horrible, back to good.
Okay, so it creates kind of a cycle.
Yes.
Now, after the abuse, promises could be made.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
That's
Promises,
sessions.
assurances. Hey, we'll go to counseling. I'll start going back to church, or I'll stop doing that.
Yeah.
I promise things will be different this time. So it's kind of creating.
And you want to believe that. You do want to believe that because of how it made you feel when it was happening, when that initial intense chemistry love bombing took place. You want to go back to that. So that is why it's so difficult. If it was just all bad, progressively worse, you're so desperate to leave, you're just trying to figure out how to. A trauma bonded person doesn't necessarily want to leave. They know something's wrong. They know the relationship is bad. They know there is something seriously wrong with this cycle. They just don't know what it is, and they don't know how. And some people may not even realize they're trauma bonded.
Right. So let's talk about that.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the realizations. So what does it look like if we're inside of this cycle, this trauma bonding?
Well, I'm going to talk about some things that are really important. And these are signs that you can look for in your own relationship, or maybe if you have a loved one and you're watching from the out into this relationship and you know something's very wrong. One, the cycle of abuse. We just talked about that.
Oh, first of all, this document,
Oh, yeah. We're going to give you a copy of this.
yeah, we're going to give you a copy of this. So don't worry about, trying to write things down or we're going to put it in the show notes below.
Yeah.
So we'll put the link there for you.
And you can get your copy
Get your own copy. Right?
and definitely go through it. The power imbalance, obviously. The victim may be hesitant to leave because of maybe they are the stay-at-home mom. Maybe it is financial control.
Right.
So that is similar to potentially a narcissistic abusive relationship, but the showering of love and affection after a huge cycle of abuse is where the victim falls off, is off balance. Not being able to leave. Maybe you don't want to leave. You know it's bad for you. You know the relationship is causing a lot of stress and friction in your life, but you just may not be ready to leave yet. Making excuse for their behavior.
Oh, we've all
Yes, we've done that in our own abusive relationship, but trying to justify their abusive behavior to maybe somebody that's looking in and maybe questioning what's going on here. And you don't want them to know, because if they know, you might have to do something about it, and you may not mentally be prepared to do that break yet. You keep the abuse a secret. You lie to people. Wanting to please the abuser. You're so desperate for those intermittent cycles of love and affection that you will do anything to get that back. It's like your rush of dopamine. That cycle of abuse where you're feeling horrible about yourself, you're just kicked down as low as you could go. And then your abuser comes in with maybe a rose or, a
promise.
yes, a promise that they're not undoubtedly going to break. So trying to please them over and over and over again to get that little breadcrumb of love and affection. Distancing people who are trying to help you. Fix.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about that just a little bit further on
Oh, yeah.
how, if you're on the outside and you have a loved one, family member, whatever, that is being trauma bonded.
And you're desperate. You're
Right.
so desperate.
We're going to talk a little bit about that in just a minute. So,
Fixating on the good days. Your brain is going to go into survival mode during the cycles of abuse and tension. So your brain is going to go back to those good days. And in your mind, even though those good days are now getting further and further and further apart, your brain is going to go back and say, but remember, we did have a good time when we went on this trip. It wasn't so bad during your brain is basically trying to trick you into staying and trick you into believing it's not that bad. This is one of the most dangerous bonded relationships that you can be in.
because our human brain allows us to forget pain, physical pain, emotional pain. Over time, we kind of forget about the severity of it. And so I think that falls right into this cycle because we forget about the bad times and we only fixate on the good times.
Right. And that making excuses for their behavior, you're making excuses to yourself as well as others. You're hoping to change, though. Like, oh my gosh, I should one. Yes. You can't change anybody who doesn't want to be changed. You can't change anybody who doesn't think they need changing.
Right.
So this is something that you could be chasing your tail, trying to change them. It is an endless cycle, and it will leave you nothing but heartache and, frustration and literally just working yourself into a frenzy, exhausting yourself, trying to change that person back to those little crumbs of affection.
Right.
Wanting love despite the abuse. That's a big one because the love generally and that chemistry is intense. It's a shock wave of it. And then it's jerked away from you, followed by longer periods of abuse. You desperately want that. So you're willing to put up with just about anything to get that. You're desperate for that to return. That right there is probably when I talk to my clients who I could pretty much tell when they're trauma bonded, when I start asking them specifics about their relationship. They always want to start by, well, it wasn't always this bad, or, it's not always terrible. If you have to say that to somebody, there's something seriously wrong with that relationship because a relationship, no one's perfect. No relationship's perfect. You're going to have your ups and downs, but your partners that you care about each other. A partner that is going to beat you down to the point where you are nothing, basically. You feel like you are worthless and then grabs you up for that little crumb of happiness, which just thrills you only to be thrown to the floor again. When you have to try to cover that up and make excuses for it, you are in a trauma bonded relationship.
So if you feel like you are in one, but you're just not sure, get this document.
Yeah.
Just go down below and click on it, and you'll receive this document. And
it's very difficult to leave. We're not going to try to tell you that this is easy.
right.
We're going to try to tell you that it's almost impossible to do it on your own.
Right. So let's talk about that. If someone gets this document, they go through it and they're like, you know what, John and Melissa, I really feel like I'm being trauma bonded.
Yeah.
I really feel like it. People have told me, or I've been in this situation for a while now. It's not getting better.
This describes my
Like,
entire life
right.
and relationships.
So how would somebody get out of a trauma bonded situation?
Well, like I said, it's almost impossible to do it on your own because your brain is going to keep talking you out of it. So the first thing that I would suggest, unlike a narcissistic abusive relationship where we say immediately go no contact because you cannot start recovering from any abusive situation unless you block your abuser. A trauma bonded situation, you have to be able to want to leave. So getting help, therapy, coaching, counseling, professional help, um, with someone who understands trauma bonding and understands it's different from other types of abuse. That is when we start training your brain. Um, the things that spark those dopamine hits, you have to start undoing it. It's like addiction. It really, really is. You have to start reversing that. And if you're not trained to do that, you're not going to know how to do it. So getting professional help, having somebody guide you through those steps to get to the point where you recognize this is an extremely dangerous relationship and you need to leave. At that point, we can work on a safe exit strategy, and going no contact is the very next step. You can't let the abuser be part of your life. If you leave just a crack, they will break through your armor and they will get back to you, and the love bombing will start again. And your brain, it's like not drinking because you're an alcoholic and you see that one drink and you're like, what is one beer going to do?
Yeah.
And you take it. You're right back
Right back where you
your
started.
brain doesn't know the difference. So you have to go no contact from that. And surround yourself with a supportive network, friends, family. Join our private Facebook group. We'll put that link below as well. Just try to do this alone.
Right, right. So speaking of a professional, I've always bragged about Melissa. I know her clients. I know the success stories that she's had. Please book a call with Melissa. If you are in a trauma bonded relationship, if you fear you're in a trauma bonded relationship, please set up a call with Melissa. And I'm going to put her link down below also. And if you have a loved one or family member, we get these emails all the time. My daughter is in a trauma bonded relationship, or I believe my daughter or son is trauma bonded. What do I do? So let's talk about that just for a minute. How you can help loved ones in this situation by being supportive. And we're going to put the Facebook support group below, also the link to that, so you can join that and be around other people that can help you with this.
And it's a safe environment where you can talk about anything. Just like narcissistic abusive relationship, when you're trying to convince someone that's what they're in, that's the worst thing you want to do, because they're going to defend the abuser. They're going to tell the abuser, this is what that you said, hoping that will change them. What that will do is anger the abuser toward that loved one, and they'll isolate that loved one away from you. Listening, being supportive, and suggesting they talk to a professional. It doesn't hurt to talk to a professional. That would be your advice to them. Rather than trying to convince them that person is evil and bad, even though we know they are, asking them, what would it hurt to just book a session with someone? And so they can ask you questions, you can answer it honestly. That would probably be the first step. That was just something that I would, if it was my loved one, that's what I would say.
And you just had a situation like that the other day, didn't you?
Oh, yeah.
Where you had a mother and daughter
Yes.
that called together. The
They
mother
did
set up a
joint
call. Yeah,
treatment.
really powerful, really, really strong, really opened up the daughter's eyes to what she was dealing with.
And her mother wasn't trying to tell her. Her mother was just, let's just talk about
Right.
it. Let's just talk about it. Let's talk to somebody safe, private. And it was very, very, very enlightening. I had been talking to the mother for a while, but this was the first time we actually had a joint session, and it was very enlightening for the daughter.
Right.
And she was no longer in that denial. She was losing hope in it ever going back to what it was that made her fall in love with the person. And of course, we all know that that person never existed.
Right.
It's the charade of that person.
Okay.
So anyway, but that's probably what.
Okay. Okay. So if you have a loved one, daughter, son, mother, father, what have you, good friend that you feel is in this cycle of abuse, please reach out to us.
Yes.
We're going to put questions at the VGW below. That's a great way to reach out to us just to start the conversation. I want to put Melissa's link below. She is amazing and can help you in this situation as well. And please grab this document.
Yes.
It's a great place to start just to educate yourself. Knowledge is power.
It is.
So anytime you can get some knowledge and really start moving in the right direction is a huge thing to do.
It's a huge step in the right direction. And it's a huge step for you to start having hope again.
Right.
And that's sometimes all you need is just an ounce of hope to know this can be conquered.
Right.
You can survive this and you can get away from it and you can start a life of happiness, joy, and be treated like the beautiful person that you are. So we adore you as our followers. We do. So if you haven't subscribed,
Please.
please hit that subscribe button and hit the like. We want to reach as many people as we can. And like we said, we're always here. We'll be here next week with our next podcast. We hope that you'll tune in and leave any comments you have for us because we do look at them. We do answer them. Your opinion matters to us. And we just want to help as many people as we can to live their best life like we are now.
Thank you so much for being with us today. And we look forward to hearing from you soon.